once again, the back and forth, the volleying as if we're in a wonderful tennis match. We're back in the Northern Rhone in the village of Ampuis with Agnes Levet. It's very emotional for me, actually, this moment, because this is a domain that I have grown up with, that helped me make my mark in the Northern Rhone. I had the extraordinary good fortune of encountering Agnès' grandfather, Marius Chambéron. And you had to know Monsieur Chambéron, and I only had a very brief encounter with him, but you know, in Côte-Rôtie, there's this habit of the big houses, the big néo-Son houses, they put their names on the rocks, on the terraces, on the face of the rock terraces. They put the name Chapoutier or Vidal-Fleury or whatever, Gigal, to make their statement about who they are and how important they are. And Mr. Chambéron put his name on those two. Petit Vigneron, he said, who was basically, for me, giving the finger to his more well-known competitors and colleagues. And so I always was very attracted to this kind of attitude. And we met briefly back in, I think it was 1981 or 82, something like that. And then when I made a succession of visits, he got sick, right? Marius, well, you were just a tiny little tot. I mean, when were you born? What year were you born? I shouldn't be asking your age. I should never, but in this case, a grand vigneron, I'm not talking to a woman now. I'm talking to one of the great names, great personages in Côte-Rôtie. So when were you born?
I was born in December 1973.
1973, right. So when I first showed up at the doorstep, you were still a little kid in school. Yeah.
I was 10 years old.
Yeah, 10 years old. So, and at that time, your grandfather became ill, or there was something going on that caused your father to come in and start working with your mom, right, with your mother.
My grandfather had a lot of work with vegetables, fruits, and vineyards. So he went to retire a little. So when you met him, he has only one vineyard. He has already done his succession between his two daughters. So he gave the vegetables and fruits for one daughter, and the vineyards for the other, my mother.
So your mother, Nicole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mother teach in school, and my father was working at the town. So
he was not, Bernard was not a vigneron. He did not come from the vine, right?
No, but he was born on the other side of the valley, Rhone Valley, and he is used to work soil,
with the soil, right?
with vegetables, and he took the passion really of the vineyards with my grandfather. They worked together. Really, and he learned so much from my grandfather. My mother was used to work with his father too, and
so that was an easy transition.
Yes.
La transition était assez facile parce que Marius Chambéron était prête de prendre sa retraite et sa fille était prête de prendre les rênes de domaine.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
your father also.
Yes. When my grandfather died in 1991, my father and my mother were used to make wine in his cellar, and there is a problem with succession, and my father and my parents has to build really quickly a new cellar because they can't anymore make their wine
In the old.
In the
Yeah,
old cellar.
because of the rules, the French rules.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember when that happened. Yeah.
Yes. They were successful because they bought the neighbor and built a cellar in the village. Yes.
Right. I mean, you are right on the Route Nationale in Ampuy as one comes south from Lyon. One of the first places in Ampuy are the cellars of Cave Bernard Levet. And just so everybody knows, to give a point of reference, the first wines I bought from the domain were the very first wines that your father made, 1983, which is a very, very famous vintage for us, right? And it's still a very great wine now, 35 years later. I still have some of those first precious bottles in my cellar, my private cellar, and the wine is still remarkable. So your father took this up in 1983. I must say, from my own observation, that visiting the Levet vineyards is a particular treat, because I've never seen more impeccably maintained vineyards than no matter what the season, no matter what the weather, no matter how difficult the conditions are, looking at the vineyards that the Levet family maintain, which all have to be done by hand, right? Because they're all on terraces. You can't take a machine, you can't take a tractor in there. The slope is too steep. Everything is built on terraces, on these stone terraces that have to be maintained by hand as well. Everything's done by hand, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have to carry on everything. So you have to need to be very strong. And my father was very precise in his work at the vineyards for making walls. He always tried to do the best, everything.
But it's more than just that for me with your father, for whom I have an enormous amount of respect, because it's not just a matter of working hard. There are a lot of people who work hard. In my mind, your father is an artist. And to look at his work, it is as if he were a great painter or a great sculptor. And that's how I view the Domaine Levet, as a unique expression of a particular passion that exists within your family. And I'm so thrilled, and it is so important to me that you have continued that way. You know, we had this lively discussion recently, right, about the changes in the new couverie. We had this wonderful little back and forth, I think. I'd like to talk about that a little bit, because you are building your own new couverie now, right?
Yes, just near the ancient cellar. So it's quite a challenge to have a new couverie, yes.
And we had an argument, you and I,
Yes.
right? We had an argument, you and I, because I heard that you were putting in stainless steel, inox, in the cellar, which is something that I have a horror of. When I walk into a cellar and I see lots of stainless steel, I say, oh my goodness, we're going to lose everything here. And the wines of the Levet, the Côte Rôtie from the Levet family, are so unique and such an extraordinary expression. Wines without fear. That's what when I talk about the Levet Côte Rôtie, they're wines without fear because they are so at the limit of what may be acceptable in the marketplace. They are such a pure expression of what I have always perceived as the greatest part of Côte Rôtie, because I grew up on, my first vintages that I bought of Côte Rôtie were 1975, 76, 78, 79. These were wines that were earthy and redolent of animal and leather and all the things that if they were analyzed today by an analog or by a laboratory would be thrown away.
Yes.
And these are the wines that I grew up with, and you still make wines like that.
Yes.
How is it possible? How is it possible that you can get away with this?
Because I try to have the same process, even if the materials are different.
And we had this little discussion about when I said, "Oh my goodness, you're having stainless steel in the cellar," and I was so frightened. And your response was,
for me, the process is the same, and it's the point very important. Is when you have the grapes, whole clusters, and the cap in the juice, and
Which is to say, it's a subtle extraction, but a long and profound extraction.
yes, very gentle extraction to have these tannins, these animal flavors. I remember when my father began, it was difficult because nobody wanted wine like this.
Except for me.
Except you.
Right. Yeah. That's true. That is very, very true. Yeah.
Journalists, every customer say, "Wow, wow, it's a wine like your grandfather. We don't want this. It's not enough modern, not enough fruits. It's
not
too
enough
spicy.
new oak.
Yes,
no new
not
oak.
enough
Right.
oak.
Yeah.
Wow, keep this away. We don't want it."
Do you know, for me, I bought the wine every year. I've always bought the wine every year, no matter what the vintage, whether it was 1984 or 1992, no matter what, because I love the wines, and I always bought way more than I ever sold. You realize that for many years, we had 6 or 7 vintages. Almost everything that I bought was sitting in my warehouse because we had so few customers. Nobody wanted these wines. And then there was a moment where magic happened. I don't know what it was. I'm not sure when it happened exactly or what happened, but all of a sudden a new star was born, even though we've been working together for over 20 years. For over 20 years we were working together. And then all of a sudden the Levet star appeared in the night sky. How did people get it? Why did they all of a sudden get it? Because now your domain is one of the most sought after amongst the appellation.
Yes, it's a question of point of view. Before, it was very trendy to be modern, to distinct, to have fruit, a lot of fruit. Don't age the wines, it's not good. Yeah. Now, being modern is to have the best of last days.
Right. Respecting the classics and respecting the traditions. So that is something that we are going to do together.
Yes.
For the rest of our lives together, because I expect to be together forever and ever. This is a very important moment for me because the joy of seeing Agnes Levet take her place here is one of the great satisfactions because you lost your brother.
Yes, yes.
Who was presumably destined to follow your dad. You were not planning to do that, right? You were, if I remember, you were...
it took so long time
to
take my place.
You were an engineer, weren't you?
Yes, yeah. I was a chemical
engineer.
Working
in the south of France.
Yeah. Right. And, but I never forget my roots. I always do harvestings, and it's my heart beating there at Ampuy. Yeah. So I can't forget.
Goodness. Thank you.
Thank you.